NC State Chi Alpha. I hope you are doing well this week. We are so excited for where we're at, and even if we are kind of at a distance, right, doing this thing digitally, we know that we are in this together. And so I know that many of you have kind of been plugging into different Chi Alpha communities, whether it's a life group and whether it's this right here, or whether it's our XA United call that happens at 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights. We want you to know that we are so glad that you're a part of this community. If you are new, we know that there have been many that have plugged in that are new. We would love to just get to know you further. So if you're one of those new people and I have not had the pleasure of meeting you, please shoot me an email, even if it's just to tell me where you're from, your name, and which life group you're in. You can shoot that to tyler@ncstatexa.com. I would just love to get to know you a little bit further. And so, yeah, shoot that to me whenever you have a chance. Chi Alpha, we've been going through the book of Nehemiah, and we're, believe it or not, getting ready to kind of close out this part of our series on restoring brokenness. We have this week, and then we have next week, and that will end our kind of journey through Nehemiah. There's obviously 13 chapters, so more that could be covered, but we're going to focus in on this portion. And so I just can't believe that it's already kind of coming to a close. But these last 2 weeks are super action-packed and just full of good nuggets. And so make sure you're a part of this. Continue to just stay tuned in as we go through this. We also will be having other staff joining us for these devotional moments. And so in the future weeks, you'll get to start hearing from some of those individuals. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you do not miss a single one of them. So let's go ahead and dive right in. We left at a portion of Nehemiah, and now we're going into chapter 5. So if you're new, just quick recap. Let me go ahead and fill you in where things are at. It started off in chapter 1 with Nehemiah hearing about the city of Jerusalem, the walls being broken down, and starting it with prayer. Nehemiah goes to God. He knows it's so big. He's not going to conquer this on his own. He must partner with God in prayer. So he starts off by that. Then we go in and we see that not only is Nehemiah willing to have the faith to pray to God, but he's willing to take the action it's going to take to see this wall completed. He asks the king to send him, and he's not really sure how this wall is going to get rebuilt, but he knows he is willing, and he says yes. And through God, he is given just various different things that will help him on this journey to restore the wall of Jerusalem. King Artaxerxes supplies him with timber, supplies him with just letters and just things that will just be a catalyst to helping this wall be restored in the future. And so that was chapter 2. Then we go in and we see in chapter 3 that Nehemiah not only is going to partner with God and with the king Artaxerxes, but he is going to partner with all these individuals who want to see Jerusalem restored. And he has a community of people that come around him, and not just around him, but join together and say, hey, let's do this. We can make this happen. And they don't just do it alone, but they scatter out and they work together in community and see this wall built up. It's not finished at this point, but they are working together. There's daughters working with their dads. There are individuals that are goldsmiths that are coming and working on the wall. Even though that's not their trade, they are going to make this happen. And so we see the wall being resurrected and being just restored. And then we talked about last week how that when there is change that happens, that brings challenges. Change brings challenges, right? And we saw that with the opposition that was coming in, and that is kind of where we left off. And so we're going to pick up right there. We're going to go into chapter 5, and we are going to see that in this chapter, let me just kind of fill you in. What's going on is not only are they having these problems from the outside, from the cities around them coming against them, but now they have this challenge happening within. Individuals have exhausted their resources. They've been working on this wall, and so they don't have the funds and the money to provide food for their family. So they've taken out loans from the people that are their neighbors, from the person down the road and they can't pay them back. And so now they're in debt to the individual just right down the road, right? And these people now are giving their sons and their daughters as a fee to that debt so that they can work off that payment that they're owing their neighbor. They're going without food. There's a famine in the land. Things are still not looking good in the city of Jerusalem, and individuals are turning against each other. Brother is turning against brother and charging them these debts, and that is what is happening in chapter 5. We see that as these people have borrowed, they have given themselves as hired workers. And we are going to go ahead and look at chapter 5, verse 14. It says this. We'll start a little bit into verse 14. It says, "Neither I nor my brothers ate the food allotted to the governor, but the earlier governors, those preceding me, placed a heavy burden on the people and took 40 shekels of silver from them in addition to food and wine. Their assistants also lorded it over the people." You see, in this area of Persia, a lot of times the governors would take these taxes and these funds and these monies that were being collected for their own gain. And Nehemiah had this opportunity where he could have said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm the governor. I'm trying to rebuild this wall. I'm going to take these funds. And some of the people in the city were taking advantage of their brother, and they were charging them and taking on their sons or daughters as kind of slave labor, so to say. These individuals, Nehemiah has called them out, and he says, no way, we cannot let this happen. We have got to join together. Just as we joined together in the building of the wall, we now have to unite together as one unit. We can't be going against each other and having these problems within. That weakest brother that's standing next to us, we need to pull them up, not press them down. And so Nehemiah says that even though these funds that would have come in and these pleasures and things that I could be taking advantage of, this is what happens. He says, but out of reverence for God, I did not act like that. And in verse 16, instead, I devoted myself to the work on this wall. All my men were assembled there for the work. We did not acquire any land. So we see that Nehemiah, he devoted himself to the work, to the service of this wall. He did not take the opportunity, right? He wasn't just looking at this as a time where he could gain and rise up and press others down. He said, no, we are going to be in this together. And if there's one suffering, then I will sacrifice. And I just love how he does that. We go on in verse 17, it says, furthermore, 150 Jews and officials ate at my table, as well as those who came to us from the surrounding nations. Each day, 1 ox, 6 choice sheep, and some poultry were prepared for me, and even 10 days an abundant supply of wine of all kinds. In spite of all of this, I never demanded the food allotted to the governor because the demands were heavy on these people. You see that in this moment, this amount of food would have fed 600 to 800 people, and Nehemiah gives it back to the community around him. Nehemiah sacrifices, and he says, if we're going to make this happen, I am not going to press other people down. I'm going to pull them up, and I'm going to take my advantage and give it to those who are at a disadvantage in this season. I just love Nehemiah and his sacrifice in that area. That's an amazing leader. One of my prayers is that we as a Chi Alpha community would be a generous community, that we would look for ways that we could help those individuals around us that are in need, those people that we could help press on to do that kingdom work that they've been called to do. And so over the next few months, you're going to see opportunities of how you can participate in being a generous person and being a part of generous Chi Alpha that we desire to be. So that kind of wraps it up in chapter 5. Nehemiah leads by example, and we go into chapter 6. And in chapter 6, we begin to see that there are no gaps in the wall anymore, that they are almost to the point of completion of the wall. And this does not, the doors are not set yet. They are so close. There's like one more thing, right, that needs to be done. They are almost there. And then we see right here in verse 2, it says, I had not set the doors in the gates. Sanballat, remember him from last week, and Geshem sent me this message. Come, let us meet together in one of the villages on the plain of Ono. Now this obviously is a trap. Nehemiah senses that. He says, you know what? Hey, I'm doing some great work here. I can't go. He sends a message to them, and they actually try to do this 4 more times. If you go on into verse 4, it says 4 more times they sent me the same message. They were trying to once again distract Nehemiah, and he says, no way, I'm staying the course. I'm staying focused. We got to love this guy, right? He is on a mission. He knows what God is calling him to do, and he is not going to be distracted. He's like, I'm almost done. How many of you have felt that way, right? You're in that season and you're like, I am trying to do what God is calling me to do, and I keep getting distracted. There's Netflix over here. There's this guy over here. There's this thing happening. All these things can be distractions. And although good, right? It's fun to sit down and watch a movie. It's fun to go on those dates. It's fun to have those parts of life. But man, we can't be distracted by the things that are around us all the time. We have to stay focused on what God is calling us forward to do. We must stay strong. We must stay focused. We have to know our aim, and we have to stay the course, right? All right, so then we go on and we see that he's being distracted. And then once again, and we go to verse 10, it says, one day I went to the house of Shemaiah, son of Deliah, the son of Mehetabel, who was shut in at his home. He said, let us meet in the house of God, inside the temple, and let us close the temple doors, because men are coming to kill you. By night they are coming to kill you, Nehemiah. So this guy is trying to warn Nehemiah. He's saying, hey, these guys are coming to kill you. Now, it's important for us to know culture and just kind of the background here. We know that this guy that comes to Nehemiah, Shemaiah, right? He comes to him and he is a worker in the temple. We know that that's why he has access to it, the keys, right? He probably can go there, get Nehemiah in there. He is trying to help save Nehemiah, right? It sounds all good. No. Nehemiah sees once again that this is a trap. He knows that he is not supposed to be going into the temple. This is a holy place at the time. Only the priests would be entering that place, the house of God. This is not a place for Nehemiah to go. Nehemiah was not a priest. And so Nehemiah knows, hey, something's fishy about this. Somebody's trying to set me up. If I go in there, he also knows that he has called his people to rise up. He says, in chapter 4, we just read that last week, where he says, hey, we can do this. Remember your God, and then fight for your brothers and your sisters and your families. He tells them to do it. Now, Nehemiah is willing to go the distance himself. And this is, he says, no, I've got to be a person of my word. I will go forward and I'm going to stand strong. I'm not going to go hide in the temple. So we have Tobiah and Sanballat trying to just take him down once again. And then at the end of chapter 6, we come to the final moment. It says this, so the wall was completed on the 25th of Elul in the 52 days. 52 days it took to finish that wall. How in the world did they do it? All the surrounding nations, when all our enemies heard about this, all the surrounding nations were afraid and lost their self-confidence, because they realized that this work had been done with the help of our God. I love that part, that in 52 days they complete this wall. It's a miracle. The people around them notice this, and they can't help but say, wow, God had to have his hand on this. And so it's just absolutely incredible. We go into chapter 7, and we see that after they complete the wall, that Nehemiah, in verse 2, he says, I put in charge of Jerusalem my brother Hanani. along with Hananiah, the commander of the citadel, because he was a man of integrity and feared God more than most men do. You see, if you remember back to the beginning of Nehemiah, this is one of the men that comes to Nehemiah and says, hey, these walls are broken down. The same guy that helped cast that vision, who shared with Nehemiah, was his brother. Hananiah comes and now is appointed. This is somebody that Nehemiah can trust. And so that's my challenge for you today, to say, who can you trust? Who are you going through this life with? Who is that person as you try to tackle this season in your life where you're at college and you have a huge foundation that you are building? You're trying to make those decisions for how you're going to live your life, how you're going to build your faith, what habits are you going to put in your life? I want you to ask yourself, I want you to say, what is that list of items that I need to set as my aim? I'm right here, right now, but I want to be here. What is that vision? What's your personal vision today for 4 years from now? Where do you want to end up? Nehemiah did not get this wall built without a vision. He had a direction. He knew where he needed to go. He knew the people had to come with him. He knew that he had to have God on his side. And he knew that distractions could easily get his attention, right? But he stayed the course. And so my challenge for you today is to ask yourself, who am I going with? Who is my God? And how am I going to get there? Like, what is my aim? So today, maybe you would just take a moment, pull out a piece of paper, write down 3 things that you really want to see your time at the end of college. What is that going to look like? You may not be there today. That's okay. But let's start building our trajectory and make sure that we are aiming in that right direction so that the course is on target. Chi Alpha, I love you, man, and I appreciate you, every single one of you. I am praying for you. Let me go ahead and pray for you right now. Father God, thank you so much for each and every guy and girl that is involved in Chi Alpha. Maybe this is their first time and this is their first introduction or the first time watching anything with us, God, and I pray that you would just be with them, that you would bless them, that you would just speak to them in their chair or wherever they are right now, whether they're on a couch or they're sitting in tally. Father, I pray that you would be with them, that you would let them know in this crazy, chaotic season of COVID-19 that you deeply care about them. And not only do you care about where they're at right now, but you care about their future. And so God, I pray that as they try to figure out their future, as they try to figure out this direction that they're going to go, would you be with them? Would you just let them know that you care about them? That you have plans that are there to bring them a hope and a future, and that you deeply love them. God, thank you for every individual. Thank you for every life group that is journeying together. God, would you continue to be with us and be for us? And may we keep our eyes on you in the mission that you've called us to in this season. In your name we pray. Amen. Chi Alpha, be blessed. Love you all.